Happy Wednesday. Welcome back. I'm Miss Cassidy from Miss Cassidy Creates. We're going to go ahead and get set up here so that I can see all of your wonderful comments and questions and any of that good stuff. I hope you're having a really good day. I hope you're doing something today that's fun and exciting or restful and relaxing, something that makes your heart happy. I hope you got to do something today that makes your heart happy. We have a really beautiful day here in Pittsburgh. It is very sunshiny. It is getting a little warmer, which I'm excited about. It's finally starting to feel like springtime, which I'm so happy about. All right. We have got our video up and working so I can see any of your wonderful comments and questions. I'm going to go ahead and throw on my apron because today is a kitchen adventure day. We love kitchen adventures here. We love making delicious things for people, and we love learning about the science behind some of it and doing all sorts of fun themed activities in the kitchen. So I'm glad to get my apron on today because we are going to get a little sticky with what we're making today. So make sure you're wearing something that if you get a little bit of melted chocolate on it, you're not going to be too upset. And I mean, who's really ever that upset about melted chocolate? I mean, really. Hello, friends. Hi, thanks for joining us. So today we are making a leprechaun bait because it is National Leprechaun Day. Hi, Tanner. Thanks for tuning in, bud. So I know what you're thinking. You're going, Miss Cassidy, St. Patrick's Day was all the way back in March. And St. Patrick's Day is when we celebrate leprechauns. And I hear you. Leprechauns are a big part of St. Patrick's Day. But St. Patrick's Day is celebrating St. Patrick and the country of Ireland. The leprechauns are just kind of a fun little sidekick for that whole adventure. Hi, Arizona. Thanks for coming, friends. So today is National Leprechaun Day, which is the day that we celebrate these feisty little tricksters from Irish folklore. Have you ever heard the word folklore before? Folklore is when a community or a culture passes down stories and beliefs and customs all throughout the generations, oftentimes just by using their mouth. Because we've been able to talk ever since we became people, but we haven't been able to write down these stories. Writing out books like that, that's almost new. When we talk about way back in the 8th century, when leprechauns first started to become known around the world, not a lot of people were writing yet. So there was a lot more verbal storytelling, using their mouths to tell stories and passing it down. I bet you do some of that with your family now. Do you know any stories that maybe your grandparents have told you or your parents or some other grown-up has told you about your family? Or maybe a tradition you do on certain holidays that your parents did when they were kids? Those are all part of those beliefs that we pass down, and folklore and these stories are a big part of that. Hi, Cheyenne. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you, friends. So, we've all seen a leprechaun before, or at least seen a picture of a leprechaun, right? They're very small, maybe not that small. They actually are said to be about 2 feet tall. They're said to be about the size of a 3-year-old. So if you're a 3-year-old or you've got a 3-year-old sibling in the house, you kind of know what size a leprechaun would be. And then also they can get even smaller because it's all magic. They can kind of do what they want, and they're very quick little creatures. If you look at them, they freeze. But the second you look away, they're gone, just like that. Most of the time we see leprechauns dressed in, they have their little hats with the buckle on it. A lot of times they've got big red beards. I can give myself a little red beard with my my braids here. And they're often wearing, bright, shiny gold buttons and shiny black shoes. Can't wait to catch one. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how you can help bring some in, and not just leprechauns. This leprechaun bait works for all sorts of fairy creatures. So leprechauns are most often found in the forest or the woodlands and in areas called fairy mounds. If you've ever seen little hills out in the woods that are covered in moss, if you've ever been in a really quiet forest and you look around at all the trees and it feels like it's alive because so many things are moving around you, one of those things might be some leprechauns running around super quick all over the place. So like I said, if you look at them, they freeze. But as soon as you look away, they run away. If you catch a leprechaun, they have to tell you where they have hidden their pot of gold. All leprechauns have a pot of gold that they like to hide at the end of a rainbow because it's very difficult for a human to get to the end of the rainbow now, isn't it? There's actually a story about one time a human managed to catch a leprechaun, and he demanded that that leprechaun show him where his treasure is. So the leprechaun pointed over to a tree. And that human went and tied a red bandana around the tree so he could come back with a shovel and know exactly where to dig for that gold. Do you know what happened when he came back to the forest? All of the trees suddenly had a red bandana wrapped around them because leprechauns are tricksters. And that leprechaun wanted to make sure that his treasure didn't get stolen by any humans. Leprechauns are often depicted as shoemakers. They actually believe there are two different versions of the name leprechaun in old Irish languages. One meant small body, which we talked about, they're small, and the other one meant shoemaker. They're known for being cobblers or people who make shoes. So they often say that if you're looking for leprechauns and if you're really quiet, you can hear a little tap, tap, tap coming from the hammer that they use to fix the shoes. So if you're ever out looking for leprechauns, that's another good thing. You've got to be very quiet. You've got to sneak around and you've got to listen. Leprechauns love making crafts, which makes me feel like maybe I'm a leprechaun, because as we know, Miss Cassidy loves crafty things. I am not so much a cobbler. Maybe someday I'll learn how to make shoes. Though they can look very funny, and oftentimes we see them happy and jolly and they're dancing a lot, which is another reason they go through so many shoes. Leprechauns are actually known for being very grumpy little creatures. They can be real sour, which is why we're going to use some sweet things to hopefully get them to like us and share their treasure with us. There is actually a town in Ireland called Carlingford that is claimed to be the home of the last remaining 236 leprechauns in the world. They're actually listed as an endangered species. They're protected in Carlingford, so that if you ever caught a leprechaun, you had to make sure that you took extra good care of them because they're very special. And even here in the United States, in Portland, Oregon, there is the smallest leprechaun colony west of Ireland, and a place called, Mills End Park. Mills End Park started out as a tiny little 2-foot hole in the ground where they were supposed to put a light post, and they never did. And a journalist, somebody who writes for a newspaper, saw this little area and decided to put down a sign and some flowers and start writing the stories of the leprechaun who lived there. It went on for so long that they eventually named that little tiny 2-foot square an official park in Portland, Oregon, and made it a leprechaun refuge. So if you can't make it all the way to Ireland, maybe you can head out west to Portland, Oregon and check out Mills End Park. I think that'd be pretty cool. So today we are going to make leprechaun bait. This is a super easy recipe that you can make with pretty much anything delicious you've got laying around your house that's sweet. The only thing that you really have to have for this recipe is white chocolate or melting discs. That's really it. Everything else you can kind of make up. Obviously, it makes sense to have Lucky Charms cereal. I already separated out my marshmallows. You're going to want to do that. We don't have to necessarily use the whole box of Lucky Charms, but if that's all you got, you can. So I've got some of the cereal part of the Lucky Charms right here. I've also got some popped popcorn. I've got some pretzels. Ooh, spilling my pretzels. Hello, Elizabeth and Hadassah. Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us. And then I also decided to use a little bit of Fruity Pebbles I had left because they're so rainbow, it seemed perfect for leprechauns. But you can use anything you've got laying around your house. Any kind of cereal would work. You can use kettle corn. You can use M&Ms. You could even try potato chips because, I don't know, I like sweet and salty things. It might take a little bit of finessing, but you can really take anything you've got and be brave and mix it all together. The only thing you really need is you need to end up with 5 to 7 cups of whatever you're going to use. If you only have 5 cups, that's fine. That just means you end up with a little more chocolate in your leprechaun bait. If you have 7 cups, then that's great. Hello, Indiana. Thanks for joining. So, I have got my mixes. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to put this down right over here. And I'm going to take my super big measuring cup that I have. This holds 8 cups. And And that's all the way up to there. So I'm gonna go a little lower than that. I'm gonna go to like right at that rim. And I'm gonna start with my popcorn. Then pour in some of my Lucky Charms cereal. Make it a little bit of a mess, but as always, that's okay as long as we clean it up afterwards, right? Now I'm gonna take my pretzels and I'm gonna crush up my pretzels a little bit because they weren't small guys. They were pretty big, thin pretzels. Hi, Amy. Thanks for joining us. Are you making leprechaun bait with us or are you just watching? Hello, San Antonio. You're 8-year-old. I love it. I love 8-year-olds. 8 years old is a fun age. I mean, most ages are pretty fun at different things, but 8 years old is pretty cool. So I'm glad you're having a good time. So I'm crushing up my pretzels just to get some slightly smaller bits of pretzel in there. And that's the thing, since we're already using pretzels in here, think about sweet and salty. Whatever you've got laying around the house, you might not want to use pretzels and salty chips. Or you might want to use kettle corn along with it. You want to think about matching. You want a little bit of sweet and a little bit of salty. So I'm crushing up my pretzels. We're looking like we're at about 4 cups right now. Here we go. Almost done with the pretzels. Get those all in there. All right. Now I'm going to take my Fruity Pebbles. I'm going to leave my marshmallows for later. The marshmallows are going to be one of the last things we put in. And what's cool about Lucky Charms is a lot of times all their boxes have slightly different marshmallows. So like the box I got today has a little unicorn in it. Check this out. I didn't know they had put unicorns in Lucky Charms, but I got unicorns in mine now. The hardest part about making leprechaun bait is when you separate all of the marshmallows, waiting and not eating them all before you put them in. I did this a few hours ago, and let me tell you, friends, it has been hard to not eat all of those delicious marshmallows while I waited to make this with you. All right, so we've got all of our things in. I still have a little bit of popcorn and cereal, and I'm at about 6 cups right now. So like I said, if you only have 5 cups, that's totally fine. That just means you'll have a little bit more chocolate. But if you want to try to bump it up to like 7 cups and you've got enough, go right ahead. So we've got all our good layers in there. We've got popcorn, Lucky Charms cereal, Fruity Pebbles and pretzels, and a little bit more of that popcorn on top. So now that I know, and if you don't have a massive measuring cup like me, that's okay. You can just use a regular old one and dole out a cup each and keep going. Maybe you want a little more popcorn than you want M&Ms. Maybe you want more M&Ms than you want popcorn. You get to make it however you want. So now that I've measured all this out, I'm going to dump it into my big mixing bowl. I'm going to take my spatula, and I'm just going to carefully kind of shuffle it around so it gets a little mixed up in there. Give that a nice little shake around. There we go, getting nice and mixed up. I love it. Get this out of our way. Now we are going to go ahead and melt our chocolate. So you need a microwave safe bowl, and you need a grown-up or an older sibling who's cool using the microwave. Maybe that person's you. But check in with whoever you're working with today and whoever's going on our kitchen adventure with you, and then you can decide who's going to handle the microwave. So I've got a microwave safe bowl with about 12 ounces of white chocolate chips in it. I had put 11 ounces in our original measurements, but then I realized my bag was just 12 ounces. It's not an exact science, friends. It's okay. Whatever amount you've got, at least 11 ounces is probably going to be your best bet. I buy these little discs from Michael's Craft Store or Pat Catan's, and they come in 12-ounce packages. So I just opened up a package, and they also have these in a lot of other fun colors. So you can make this recipe different for different things. Maybe you want to make unicorn bait, and you can use some of these pink ones. Or you can make, you can do anything you want. You could do some cool galaxy snack mix where you use purples and pinks and all sorts of stuff. They're really handy to just melt down and make your kitchen projects a little bit more colorful. So, just like almost every other time that we've melted anything, particularly chocolate when we do our kitchen adventures, you don't want to do it all at once because it's very easy to end up scorching your chocolate if you do that. Hi, Ibrahim. Thanks for joining us. You don't want to scorch your chocolate because then it's going to be burnt and gross. So, we're going to this in the microwave at half power, so 50%, for 30 seconds. If you can't make your microwave go to half power, just do shorter amounts of time, maybe do 15 seconds. And we're gonna take it out between every round we put in, whether that's 15 seconds or 30 seconds, and then we're gonna mix it up so that it melts nice and evenly. So I'm gonna go ahead and scoot you over a bit. Hi there. Get this going in my microwave at half power and for 30 seconds. All right. Grab a fork to mix mine up. You can use a fork, you can use a spoon, you can use that spatula you were already using. Whatever you've got laying around. It's not too picky about it, but I'm gonna go ahead and use my fork when it comes out. So we're gonna go ahead and get this nice and melty, and then if you've ever made Rice Krispie treats before, it's very similar. We're gonna use sticky melted chocolate mixture tossed in with all of those delicious things we just put in our bowl, and then we're gonna mix them up so they stick together. All right, be careful when you're taking your bowl out of the microwave because it can get hot and you don't want to get burned. So mine hasn't melted really at all yet, but I can tell that they're getting a little softer when I hit them. So let's throw that back in, another 30 seconds. Make that happen for us. Oh boy, friends, I know it's a little funny that it's not St. Patrick's Day, but I gotta say, I think leprechauns are pretty down for making a delicious snack. So any holiday celebrate by eating something yummy, Miss Cassidy's in for it. All right, couple more seconds here and we'll see how melty my chocolate is. Ooh. Once again, make sure you're careful, like that one's a little warm. So we're gonna go ahead and get our oven mitt out. Bring it down. Oh yeah, they're starting to get a little bit gooier. They're sticking to the bottom of my bowl. So that's why we're gonna stir it up so that none of that chocolate that's stuck on the bottom gets too hot while the rest of it doesn't melt, because that would be no good. All right. 30 more seconds. Woo! My microwave's interfering with my signal. I guess that does kind of make sense. There we go. Here, we'll do a little bit of this. Bring you over here for the time being. See if that's any better. Let me know if it's still doing weird things. So if I dropped out, I'm not sure if I did. All we're doing is we're continuing to microwave at half power for 30 seconds and stirring up that chocolate in between so it doesn't get scorched. If you have a lower powered if you can't make your microwave lower powered, then you can go ahead and just use shorter amounts of time. It's blurry. Is it blurry only when I'm microwaving? Weird. If it's blurry consistently, that might be an issue with the connection on your end, but we shall see. All right, I'll be right back. We're gonna check on this chocolate. Oh, we're getting there, friends. We're getting there almost. I think probably one more, maybe two, because check out that chocolate. It's getting gooey. And the more we mix it up, the more it helps move that heat around in the bowl to help melt that chocolate down. Yeah, I think probably one more time in the microwave and we will be all set. Here we go. I wonder what weird science it is behind us that makes the signal get strange when the microwave's going on. That sounds like maybe some kind of science project I should do some research on. See if I can learn how. Interesting. All sorts of crazy cool technology stuff goes into making microwaves. So it doesn't surprise me that it made something weird happen on my phone. But that's okay. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right. That is looking pretty gooey. Let's stir it up and see if it's ready. Ooh, I think it's ready. You want to stir it and make sure there aren't any big clumps of candy left. That's what we're looking for everything to be kind of uniformly melted. It's almost like it's like cream cheese or icing. All right, so now that we've gotten this nice and smooth. Look at that. Oh, and it's trying to drip out my bowl. That means we are ready to toss it in with the rest of our delicious things. So, oh, let me turn this a little bit so we're in the frame a bit more. There we go. All right. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our chocolate, get some of it off that fork you've been using. We're going to carefully pick it up, take our rubber spatula, and just pour it on in there. Oh yeah. Rubber spatulas are perfect for this because it'll really help you get every last bit of that melted chocolate out of that bowl. All right. Now that we've done that, you're going to go in and you're just going to start tossing all of your good stuff around. It's going to take you a minute because you got to get that melted chocolate kind of all over the place. So some of it might spill out of the bowl a little bit. That's okay. As always, if we make a little bit of a mess, that's all right. We just got to make sure we clean it up when we're done. So we're going to keep mixing it together till everything gets nice and gooey and covered. Like I said, if you use a little bit less of your mixture, if you made like 5 cups instead of 7, you're going to have a thicker coating of chocolate on your Leprechaun Bait. Or if you use closer to 7 cups, then you're going to have a pretty even layer, thinly laid across. So let's see, I'll bring this over here. And hopefully you can kind of see covered in that chocolate. It's getting sticky. Now we're going to go ahead and add those M&Ms. We're going to go ahead and add our marshmallows because the chocolate would have been so warm that it would have melted our marshmallows, and then we wouldn't have the super fun Lucky Charm part for our Leprechaun Bait. So we're going to add that after we've mixed in everything else so that the chocolate cools down a little bit from touching everything else before we add the marshmallows. And you're going to go ahead and just mix it on up. Mix, 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 mix. Work those strong arm muscles. It's not as much mixing as when we made the butter, huh? That was a whole lot of mixing going on. All right. And that is nice and mixed up. Now I know it's tempting, and you can probably take a little bite of it if you want right now. But to get our we need to be patient now. We're going to go ahead and we're going to spill this out. You can do it onto a piece of parchment paper and just leave it on the counter to set. If you don't have the counter space for it, if you lay it down on parchment paper on a cookie sheet, or if you're impatient, you can do this too. You can lay it on a cookie sheet, stick it in your refrigerator, and that'll help set it a little quicker. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. I have parchment paper, but I also have one of these handy little silicone mats that I love using. And it's easy to carry, and I'm not worried about it ripping. So I'm going to go ahead and dump out, maybe not all of my Leprechaun Bait just yet, because I want to make sure I've got enough room on my pack here to be able to make it fit. Which it looks like I'm going to have to do a little bit of both, which is A-okay. This is why we plan, and we have backup plans, and we make sure we're prepared. All right, so I'm just spreading that out. I'm letting it stay touching to each other, but I'm not worried about like packing it in too much. Now let's get my chocolate bowl in with sink and out of my way. I'm going to very carefully transfer this over to this counter. Bring out some parchment paper. Wax paper. Wax paper will also work out here because your chocolate should have cooled down enough that it won't melt. But maybe do a quick touch test and make sure that it's not, it should be pretty cool by now. Go ahead and get my parchment laid out. Dump out the rest of this good stuff. Spread it out. And then we're going to let that set for about an hour. You can even go a little longer. This is one of those things that the longer you wait, the crispier and crunchier it's going to be. So the more patience you can have, the better it'll be. Or what you can do, like I said, if you're impatient, which I understand, times are hard, we just made a delicious snack, it's hard to not eat that delicious snack immediately, you can go ahead and throw it in your refrigerator and let it set up that way for about an hour or 45 minutes, and that'll give you that nice crack pretty quickly. And the nice crunch on the outside from adding that chocolate. So I'm going to bring you over here so we can take a look at our leprechaun bait up close and personal. Because that's about it, friends. That's really all it takes. So let's see. Ready? Ooh, look at that. We've got our marshmallows, our fruity pebbles giving us that nice rainbow. Our pretzels are mixed in there. Delicious. And just like that, you've got your own leprechaun bait that can catch leprechauns or catch little ones that are just, running around the house. Sometimes even moms and dads who sneakily sneak down in the middle of the night to eat leprechaun bait. Parents would never do that. No. All right, friends, there you have it. That is our kitchen adventure for the day. We made leprechaun bait. We learned about the wonderful folklore behind leprechauns. I hope you got to learn something new today. I hope you got to make a tasty, tasty snack. Let me know if you made leprechaun bait and you did weird, different mixings than I did. I'd love to know what you made. I'd love to know what cool leprechaun bait you came up with. As always, if you took any pictures or filmed your friends and your siblings and whatnot working on our leprechaun bait, I love seeing those. So parents, if you'd like to share those, go ahead and tag Miss Cassidy Creates. It makes my heart super happy. And otherwise, tomorrow we're going to have a music activity at 11 a.m. All you need is water, some different sized containers. I would recommend glasses, all glassware, but all different sizes. Like I'm probably going to use a collection of mason jars. And some food coloring, and that's all you need for tomorrow's music activity. Otherwise, thanks so much for hanging out with me. You keep being yourself, keep on smiling. Head over to Miss Cassidy Creates, give us a like, a share, and a follow, all that good stuff, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, friends!